Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Exponential Potential. And today we are talking with my fabulous co host and expert of the day, harmonizing love and leadership and the role of life partners in professional success. And this month is all about relationships and love, and we've just had two incredible episodes, one around embracing healing and letting go of those past hurts and loves. That's episode 72. And the other one, the power of self love and nourishing your soul. So it goes much deeper than self care. And we've got another episode coming up all around intimacy. So this is just such a perfect fit, and it's not often we mention our partners, but I think we really want to focus on celebrating our partners and the importance of that relationship in within professional success. So welcome, Claire. How are you, darling? Lovely to see you.
Lovely to see you. And I've got to say, I'm really enjoying this month and this focus. Kind of there are no little hearts and chocolates and flowers. There's none of that. It's true love. It's just yummy. So I'm really enjoying this season.
Yes. Yeah, I am too. I mean, it's just as it is nourishing our soul, isn't it? It's a cellular and soul level with the things that we've been discussing through this month. So highly recommend you check out all our episodes. And I think moving forward as well, to sort of incorporate relationships more and more. Work, talking about relationships, and we do a lot, but I think coming from that place of kindness and respect and compassion. I mean, we are truly on a mission to make a difference and to help
Mm.
empower other women to make a difference, aren't we? Um,
It's
and it
so
starts
key.
with relationships.
Yeah, and it starts with love. So I don't know if I've ever told you, a few years ago, I was supporting. There's an annual review of public health of the city, and all of the data gets pulled together. And I was involved in that as an exercise, and I got poo pooed. I got poo pooed. I know, me as an expert, to bring love to the table, and it's not silly. So Philips Healthcare, they've been doing work for decades around what creates good health for individuals and communities. And they talk about access to water, they talk about access to nutrition and exercise, but right up there is love and connection. It's such a strong marker of your vitality and your success, whether it be with self love, as we've uncovered, or universal love, or with partners, or with family, or with pets, or with friends. It's so important, and it's not fluffy. It's really important to us as humans.
It's such a powerful force. It is. I mean, that we talked about the power of love and the power of self love, but it truly is a powerful, powerful source that creates so much freedom and space and compassion and kindness. And it has a massive impact on all of your relationships, to your, as you said, to yourself, to everybody in work. And it doesn't mean that love is going around kissing and cuddling everybody. It's coming from that heart space where you can create more understanding for others. And compassion is, love and compassion are so intricately tied in together. You can't have compassion without love.
Mm.
So yeah, it is such a powerful tool to use, and it just fills you with joy.
For sure, for sure,
So
for sure.
yeah, yeah, yeah. So we're going to be talking about the importance of supportive partners, and some of us may not have those supportive partners, but maybe looking at ways of how to create a more supportive environment. And navigating the ambitions, professional ambitions within a partnership, because that can be a little bit rocky as well, can't it? Especially when the ego gets involved and our identities and roles. Um, Communication, we all know how important communication is, and sharing values and goals. And then we'll see where this flows and what else we can talk about. But we might be able to get into some of the case studies and personal experiences as well.
Yeah.
So,
Oh,
yeah.
indeed, and also we had a pre-chat about trigger warnings, because we are going to share what works. We have been open and candid about what hasn't worked in our lives, and I've definitely kissed a lot of frogs and been through a lot of pain and distress at different times. And even in this current relationship, it goes up and down and up and down. But we want to celebrate how you can grow together. And I'm going to cheekily celebrate my husband, Stephan. We've been together now as a couple for 20 years, married for 19.
Congratulations. Wow.
And we've had so many adventures together and independently. And so yeah, I kind of want to bring some of like our little what's worked for us and
Mhm.
inspire others and encourage others.
Yes, because you do hear. I mean, I'm from a family of divorcees. My mum and dad, my three brothers, my sister, myself, all of us have been divorced at least once. So coming from that background is really hard to believe that it's possible to have a really loving, connected, respectful, fulfilling relationship on all levels. And we both know that's possible. It took me a while to get there, but yes. So I want to ask, how do part how do you create that support from a partner? What is? Or, let me reword that. What is the importance of having a supportive partnership?
So I think one of the most important elements is at the outset to be clear about who you are and where you want to go in life. As I say, I met Steph when I was 29. So I'd been through a couple of long term relationships before then and everything else like that. And I remember. I remember in those earlier elements, I was in a real professional flow. So I was working hard. Um, and we had our first overseas holiday to Milan, and I'd been working till 10 o'clock at night beforehand to get things done in order to go. But he'd been really patient, and I'd been describing how much I got from work, and how it enriches me, how I really want to show what I can do. Many of those aspects, and while we were away, um, enjoying the Italian vino, which is very nice. Um, that night, we kind of got into this track, and it's like, if you want to be with me, um, you got to know that I work hard. This is what I'm about. I really want to discover what I can do in life. I really want to push myself and get promoted and keep growing, and this whole sense, this defensive sense, really, of like, this is who I am. Love me or not. Um, and his words were, I know, that's why I want to marry you. And that was Steph's proposal in this middle of this massive like monologue about how important work is. And it just like stops you in your tracks. I burst into tears, of course, and then made him ask again another day. Um, but it was part of the contract from the start, was that
Yes.
kind of this, whether it was around work, and we've talked about how damaging that has been at times to me, but work gave me an identity and a sense of self.
Mm.
It gave me a it gives me a drive, and it gives me joy, and it's a way that I fulfill my purpose. And so bringing that through to say, yeah, actually love all aspects of me and be here with me, are really key. And then reinforce, checking back in against that for you both throughout your journey. So, the Sunday afternoon walks, just out in nature and imagining what you would do or talking about the next steps. And each of those are kind of reaffirming your own individual ambition, being present and listening to your partner's ambitions, and then jointly weaving your next steps. I know that our parents, for example, um, they were both very much in each other's pockets all of the time, whereas Steph and I have kept
Mm.
real independence. So we've explored things independently, but come back, and we've explored things and come back. So that space has been there, but we've always come back together in those goals to keep moving forward.
Yeah, so I think it's voice voicing what you want, isn't it? It's talking about, this is the way I am, this is the what I want. And when I find is also when we're younger, there's a lot more energy, we're a lot more focused on our careers, because that's where there's a lot of work that needs to be done and a lot of our time is spent at work. So I think it setting the expectations at the right level. And you use the word patience, having patience for each other and each other's growth and journey. And I love to, just and and we are all different. So the fact that you found someone that was your match, that loved that about you and wanted that. So many of us go into a relationship where we like, well, that's going to change, that's going to change. But what you're saying, what works is actually don't need to change. Just have some awareness and communication and keep checking in on how is everything, how is it going? Are we on the same page still? And making sure you still have that quality time together.
Yeah, and I think it actually starts before then. So I didn't intend to meet Steph. I was competing internationally in rowing. So I joined a gym, and he was there, and he liked motorbikes and I liked motorbikes. And, we went to the opening of a local motorbike shop. Um, but what I saw in him really quickly was somebody, well, who liked motorbikes, but also somebody that had a really strong work ethic. We grew up not in the same part of town, but our families were quite similar. He'd actually lost 6 stone through Weight Watchers, so tremendous amount really, and I just really admire that determination and that direction and that drive and the desire to not be passive in life. And that was something that I just tapped into in terms of competing. So it meant that he understood my drive as well. So as well as being clear about where I came from, we started with common values, and common respect for each other, which was so key.
Yeah, I think having shared values is sort of the foundation of a relationship. If you don't
Mm.
have the same shared values, you're kind of a bit in trouble, really. So how do you go about navigating professional ambitions with a partnership? So the dynamics of balancing, you're obviously ambitious and still are, and with a lot of drive. So how do you balance working late or working, you know, a lot of hours, and creating a fulfilling relationship?
Now that's can be quite tough. I've got to say, but actually, during our time together, both of us have grown independently in our careers. So, um, 10 years ago this year, Steph took on the family business. Uh, and I took on bigger and bigger roles at a time when we had a small child as well. So we've both been growing, and and the reason I bring that to the table is often one of the models that I see work is where one part of the couple takes a step back a little bit while the other shines, and then then you've got this ebb and flow that sometimes doesn't get achieved. Um, so we do have different approaches on the day to day. So while Steph has the drive, he doesn't do the hours, and I do the hours partly because I get lost in what I do. I also have no concept of time. So if I go, oh, it'll be 20 minutes, it's like, that's a
Yes.
disaster because it won't take 20 minutes for a human being anyway, but also because of my natural curiosity, I'll get lost in that time. So he's an absolute, the number of times I've turned up late for food or rushed around. Um, and that's just on a practical day to day basis. But we've supported each other to achieve objectives and push each other forward. So, one of the things, for example, is Steph really wanted to race motorbikes, and it had been a dream of his for ages. And he'd been experimenting with it, but could there were all sorts of barriers. Um, so I bought a transit van, this really dodgy old transit van for a few hundred quid. To say, right, well, we're going racing. This is the last step. So he did, he'd gone from the track days to do a season of competitive bike racing. While we both set out together. He'd supported me in terms of the rowing. So at times he'd come to different meets if they were in the UK, and we'd go swanning off. So we'd have the balance of being around and supporting and being a hearing post for the other person in their careers, but also um, enabling and supporting some of those other personal ambitions and growth, and taking joy in doing that, celebrating what we achieved together. When I studied my MBA, which was 3.5 years of extra work on top of a full time busy job, I was stuck upstairs in the home office, and he built a kit car in the garage, and kind of so it's just like you're going to do that. Well, I could sit on the settee and be really cross and bored and lonely, but he was the kind of man who said, "No, I'm going to do something that I want to do." So while I was doing that, he built kit car, and it's grown since then.
And I mean, again, the balance there is because there's two things that come to mind there. One is sometimes people lose themselves in work, that their work becomes so it starts their work is becomes so important to them, it then has a detrimental effect on the relationship. But what you're saying is, and also the fact that you're enjoying what you're doing at work as well. So how do you determine the balance between doing too much at work and not doing enough in the relationship without sacrificing your personal goals?
Well, and what I'd throw in there as well is the identity and the feedback. So if you're thriving in work, you get the feedback. People recognize it. People respect you or admire you, or you're invited to do extra things. You take on extra projects. So you get a lot of reinforcement from there, which is different than the relationship at home. So sometimes you kind of go, well, actually, the cheese is here, the cheese is here, the cheese is here, and can lose that at home. Um, but But Steph's approach can be very often, don't forget that you're important. And he obviously didn't put it that way. It's like, it would be like, you're just a number to them. But don't forget that you're important, and don't forget that we want to see you and your time. So as work was taking off, um, one of the tactics that I did is that I had a virtual assistant help for a little while to make things happen. So to find us a different restaurant, or a weekend away, because just 10, 15, 20 quid on Olivia helping me find that helped me to be a better wife while I was being distracted at the office. Or I'd buy a present for Steph or the house, and kind of use that as a love language to say, even though I'm here at times, my focus is still here, and I still want to enrich it in a way that I can.
And I know you've talked about your story around um, burning out and things. So, at what point did that happen? And because you've got you're spending time with Steph, and he's happy with what you're doing, and but this is what where do you feel that you miss the red flags in going too far and putting too much of yourself into your work environment?
Um, I think that uh, that had come. So where I was investing energy in work, and then investing energy in our relationship, and investing energy in family life as well, because I'm a mum. Um, One of the things that I was doing less was investing in myself.
Right.
Um, and it would start to show up in little ways, like if my toenail polish is out of sync, then it's a well, hang on a second. It's just like little markers like that say, you need to take best care of yourself. Look at the state of your toes. Which is, again, you could call that a Kanban marker, really, couldn't you, if you were
Mm.
applying lean management theory? Um, but I'd kind of been overriding a lot of that. And similarly, my emotional state, so my levels of irritation, Steph was definitely picking up and on the receiving end of that often.
Mm.
Um, and similarly, one of the other aspects is that for women, not for all women, but the leadership roles and corporate environments are very often a heavy masculine directive energy. And so there'd be this natural read across that I would bring that through at home, and be, try to be the boss at home to get things going, which with a strong, masculine energy as well, isn't doesn't work. And then similarly, uh, if you look at the converse of feminine energy of receiving as well, I wouldn't let him help. I
Mhm.
wouldn't really open up or ask for help at the time. So that definitely um, that definitely had been a contributing element. Um,
So, so there was elements of you being very, very independent
yeah,
in that I can do this all. I can do it by myself. And then when you were offered help, like, no, I'm fine. I'm fine. I don't need your help. I'm good. Because there was an element of, would you say there's an element of your mind, your ego sort of coming into play about, no, I can do this by myself. And that whether was there an element of needing to prove that you could do it all by yourself as well?
yeah, for sure. And that comes back to the hyperachiever in me, is
Mm,
the needing to prove, because the validation is an external validation. That wire wasn't developed in me. But at some point it starts to flip to, I can do it by myself. Look, I'm doing it by myself. And it's like, God, why do I have to do everything by myself? So
Yeah.
it flips when you've when you've gone over the red flags for too long.
So it's really finding that balance and also having a lot of self-awareness. And then the other big element here that sort of comes in is the importance of open communication,
Mm,
and both with having those shared goals, and goals within your workplace, but also goals within your relationship.
yeah, yeah. Well, and don't forget that. Yeah, again, I've been open about this. We, as a couple, we've been through the fertility process. We've been through the adoption process. We've been through the post-adoption process. And Disneyland, they ain't, but they are just as much fun. Overall. So, and each of those were a testament to our strength together and invested in our bond together. So we knew that um, if we were open to each other, we can achieve anything together, anything we truly desire, um, and truly need.
Mm,
So you forget that in the realm of busyness because you don't allow time for self awareness because you're too busy catching up or making up for things that you've missed, or you're dashing around. So it's definitely something that we try to bring through a lot more, both on an individual level and on a group level. Um, so for example, we introduced a Fizz Friday, which would be a stop on a Friday and celebrate together, but celebrate each other's and recognize what each other's doing and just encouraging each other to grow and not miss the small achievements. And almost like these are all blessings that are coming into our house together.
mm. Yeah, and I think the celebration is an element of appreciation and gratitude, isn't it? And that's one of the key areas that both men and women need in a relationship, is to appreciate each other. And by celebrating it, you do that, don't you? And I just want to be a bit cheeky. And talking of celebrations and celebrating your partner, I believe that there's another area where you would like to celebrate Stefan in one of his successes, what he's recently achieved.
So, so I mentioned that Steph's taken on his business 10 years ago, from his dad, and his dad had owned it for 25 years or so. But this year, Steph's up for Family Business of the Year, which is a UK competition. We're up for the final 10 across southwestern Wales, which is so exciting. We're up against Thatcher's cider, which is not exciting, but again, is a huge, like, is well, Thatcher's cider are there, and Stefan, look at what you've done. Um, and nationally, Furniture Village, which is like a huge brand in the UK in terms of furniture
Yeah,
store, they're they're one of the shortlisted for London. It's like,
that is incredible. So how are you talking about celebrating each other and appreciate, so how are you celebrating your success? How do you celebrate that? How do you appreciate, show your appreciation?
so the first cheeky bit was the fact that I put the nomination in for him, which was like, I see you, I see how hard you're working, and it's just, I know it's cheeky. It's like wife nominates her husband for his hard work and celebrates him. Um,
But why not?
well, yeah, it comes
You
from there.
know?
And the
Yeah, it comes,
judges
and it's
loved it
coming.
and recognised
Yeah,
it, and he is doing really well.
it's coming from that place of love and compassion and understanding, instead of you're always, why are you working so hard? What about me, 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 me?
And I've been
And again,
invited to,
because you, sorry, because you're such a good match and you communicate so much and you have the shared values, you can come from that place, can't you?
I, well, I think
So
you need to
that's
be
an
each other's
amazing way
cheerleaders,
to yes, yes. Big
but
cheerleader. Love it.
so so it's meant that I've written to clients as well and asked them for quotes because we've still got to put in nominations. There's a
Mhm.
public vote, so we'll have details on how you can vote on this by. But it's a public vote, so I'm using it as an opportunity to promote the business, of course, and all of the achievements over the last 35 years. But also as a, I mean, it's awesome. I've even written to King Charles to say, see you and your family business. I really honour what you do. You inspire us. You inspire our little family business. By the way, we're up for Family Business of the Year. It's just like, but it's coming from a place where I am so overjoyed at what Steph puts in, day out. And, you know, I, it's my little way of saying, "Hey, you're a hero."
Oh, that's lovely. And I feel that that's just so beautiful and truly, truly honoring him. And I can feel the energy of that in terms of how that must make him feel. There's just such a warm glow. And I can see how that balances is part of creating that balance as well. So celebration is a really key part of balancing and continuing creating that connection with each other.
Well, so listen, Mel Robbins uh, says, one of the things she's recently said is that for couples, you're at 100%, but you won't both be at 100% all of the time. So just check in with each
Mm,
other, and how can I do a little bit more to pick you up? How can and so there's this ebb and flow, and there is this kind of flow of energy and support between each other all of the time. Sometimes, though, you have to instigate, you have to push the energy for it to build up momentum again. But
mm,
it's there, and yeah, I've
mm.
had more than my fair share of support as well. So it's it's a joint enterprise.
Yeah, you feel that. And I think that sort of comes into as well decision making as well. Sort of if you look at your family as you're a joint enterprise, a joint venture, whether you're doing things separately. It feels like there needs to be some involvement from both parties in certain areas to not to have permission, because you don't need your partner's permission to do something, but I think there's that appreciation and that connection and that understanding around decision making.
For sure, and um, but the listeners won't necessarily know that Steph and I got married in Italy on Lake Garda, and so we signed up to the Italian vows, not the English vows, not the "I will love, honor, and obey" and all that. They're the Italian vows that we will live together, we will stay faithful to each other, and we will contribute to the family in whatever way we can.
Mm,
And so that's that's what we do. And whether at times it's been financial or success or career or adventure or just rest, it's contributing back to us together as an entity.
mm. I think that's a lovely way to end as well on about around contribution,
Yeah.
contribution, contributing to each other, contributing to the family, and then the ripple effects of that.
In,
And
indeed,
it,
and n- it needs to be we need to handle that quite sensitively because there are many women who are people pleasers. We we do automatically fall into that role, and often it feels like we're the only ones bringing that to the table. We feel that we don't get that back. Um, but you have the power to put it in, and when you put it in, it changes the dynamic, and it flows back, or you're able to take some of the energy of that gratitude and compassion for yourself to fill yourself up. So I really want to encourage people to just try it. If your partner isn't, if it's not working with your partner, then feel good about feeling good and find another partner. but but
Yeah.
but you have the power to contribute. You have the power to do that in whatever way you can.
Yeah. I just want to add to that. You were saying, we as women, we are givers. We are constantly contributing, but to have that flow of energy, you need to be open to receiving that back.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah.
And as you mentioned before, you had your independent head on, no, I can do this, until you realized actually it would make, yes, I can do this, and we all can do this. But how about we make it easier for ourselves and we're more open to accepting that contribution? And whether that could be a compliment. I mean, how usually terrible are we at accepting compliments? It's in creating that environment where a partner can feel that they can offer you help or make suggestions or give you compliments and give you loving feedback without being shut down. So that's just because we're good at doing that, so just an awareness of,
Mm.
yes, contribute, but also the other part of that is actually open up your heart to receive.
Oh, this old thing, or oh no, it's been in the back of the cupboard all the time. It's like, no, thank you, thank you.
And yes, I do need some help actually. Oh, yeah, that is a good suggestion. Yes. So contribution, but contribution so it flows both ways.
Hmm.
Yeah. That was a gorgeous conversation full of lovely gems. And thank you so much, Claire, for your vulnerability and sharing more of your personal life. And I'm sure the listeners have found some things that will help them as well. Just create a little bit of awareness for you, our listeners, and give you some inspiration and encouragement to do things differently and to be more open in your communication.
Yeah.
So yes, thank
And
you.
to vote, and vote, vote, vote.
Oh, and vote. Yes. So we'll put the link. We'll put the link in this episode. So please vote for Stephan's business. And until next time, and you know what to do, please like, share, subscribe, comment. We love receiving your reviews as well. We've had some amazing reviews, so we really appreciate those. And any questions that you have or any topics you want us to cover, we want to create more engagement with this podcast. We really do want to make some noise and help you, support you in any way we can.
Share a little bit of love for us, independent
Yeah.
podcasters.
Yes. Yeah. Love that. So till next time, take care. Bye.
Bye.